Welcome to this workshop on rebuilding Lebanon, preserving its diversity, organized by the Sovereign Order of Malta and the German Embassy to the Holy See and to the Order of Malta. I am Elias Turk, the Vatican editor of Asimena, a service in Arabic from EWTN News, and I will be introducing the various speakers and moderating the panel. The President of the Lebanese Republic, Joseph Aoun, has recorded a special video message for us this afternoon. So let's watch it together.
أصحاب السعادة، الضيوف الكرام، الأصدقاء الأعزاء، يشرفني أن أنضم إليكم من خلال هذه الرسالة في هذا الحدث الذي تنظمه منظمة فرسان مالطا ذات السيادة من أجل لبنان. وأود أن أعرب عن تقديري العميق لممثلي المنظمة والجمهورية الفيدرالية الألمانية وجميع المشاركين، وأشكركم على دعمكم المتواصل لبلد لبنان. إن لبنان بل والشرق الأوسط بأسره يقف عند مفترق طرق، فبينما يثقل عبء التاريخ كاهلنا، فإن ضرورات الحاضر تتطلب منا التحرك. وقد فتحت التطورات الأخيرة نوافذ جديدة للسلام، ويجب علينا اغتنامها. لبنان بلد يتمتع بصمود استثنائي وتنوع غني، يضم 18 طائفة تعايشت لقرون، ويشكل هذا التعدد جوهر هويتنا الوطنية وعنصرا أساسيا لاستقرار المنطقة. ورغم ذلك فإن التحديات التي نواجهها هائلة. لقد جعلت سنوات الأزمات من إعادة الأعمار مهمة صعبة للغاية، ومع هذا نواصل العمل بجد لتنفيذ إصلاحات تهدف إلى تحقيق التعافي الاجتماعي والاقتصادي، إصلاحات تستند إلى الحوكمة الشفافة والاستقرار الاقتصادي والتنمية المستدامة. وفي ظل هذه الصعوبات وقفت منظمة فرسان مالطا إلى جانبنا، فمنذ أكثر من 70 عاما وهي حاضرة في لبنان، وقد اكتسبت سمعة قائمة على الثقة والحياد والفعالية في العمل الإنساني، خصوصا في المناطق النائية. ويمكن رؤية الصليب الذي هو شعار المنظمة في كل مكان، في المراكز الطبية والعيادات النقالة والمطابخ الاجتماعية والمراكز الزراعية الإنسانية. فهي أكثر من مجرد منظمة إنسانية في لبنان، إنها شريك حقيقي للسلام والحوار بين مختلف مكونات المجتمع تحت قيادة رئيسها السيد مروان سحناوي. لقد تشرفنا الشهر الماضي باستقبال معالي المستشار الأكبر ريكاردو باترنو دي مونتيكوبو في لبنان، حيث جددنا التزامنا المشترك بالتضامن والخدمة. وأنا ممتن بعمق لشركائنا الدوليين وبالأخص الجمهورية الفيدرالية الألمانية لدعمهم الطويل الأمد، لا سيما من خلال دعمهم لأعمال منظمة فرسان مالطا في لبنان. يمر لبنان اليوم بمرحلة انتقالية، ونحن في أمس الحاجة إلى استمرار الدعم المجتمع الدولي. فكل مشروع تمكنون منظمة فرسان مالطا من تنفيذه يعزز ارتباط شعبنا بأرضه ويقوي إيمانه بمستقبل وطني مشترك. امنحوهم الوسائل لإعادة الأمل، وسنتمكن معا من بناء لبنان الحلم، لبنان الغد. أعرب عن أصدق تمنياتي بنجاح هذا المؤتمر، وآمل أن تسهم مناقشاته ونتائجه بشكل فعال في إعادة أعمار لبنان والحفاظ على تنوعه الفريد. وشكرا لكم.
Now I would like to give the stage to the Grand Chancellor of the Sovereign Order of Malta, His Excellency Riccardo Paternò di Montecupo. Your Excellency.
Potete spengere fuori quelle luci, quelle due lampioni, perché non si vede niente. Che accade? Si possono spengere fuori quelle due... Oh, pure l'altro, grazie. Thank you. Your Eminence Cardinal Gugerotti, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you all, all to this event organized by the Sovereign Order of Malta in close collaboration with the Embassy of Federal Republic of Germany to the Holy See and to the Order of Malta. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Ambassador Kotsch and his team at this embassy for their support in organizing today's event, which is dedicated to a country that holds a special place in the heart of many of us, Lebanon. The future of Lebanon also depends on those who believe in the value of the Christian presence in the Levant, of those who work for peace among religions, and of those who strive for the common goods beyond the logic of power. The Order has long been at the forefront of the international community's support for Lebanon, an extraordinary country in terms of history, culture, and resilience. Lebanon is unique in its diversity, in its rich social and cultural fabric, where different entities, groups, and religious communities coexist despite many sources of tension and instability, both domestic and at regional level. Today, Lebanon has a significant opportunity for reconstruction and stabilization. The development of the past few months, which led to the election of President Joseph Aoun, and thanks very much for his message, and the formation of the government led by Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, are a source of hope for the country and its people. For this reason, at the beginning of the year, the Order of Malta decided to devote special attention to Lebanon. We organized a side event at the Munich Security Conference last February, and we agreed with Ambassador Kotsch on the need for an event that would highlight how the Order of Malta, with strong support from the Federal Republic of Germany, has assisted the Lebanese population throughout their struggle to live in peace and stability. I have just returned from an intense and deeply moving visit to this extraordinary land, where I was able to witness firsthand not only the difficulties and the challenges, but also the resilience, dignity, and hope that animate the Lebanese people. There, I had the honor of meeting the highest institutional and religious authorities of the country, the President of the Republic, the Prime Minister, the President of the General Assembly, the Patriarch of Antioch, the Apostolic Nuncio, and the Minister of Agriculture. All of them expressed to me the same wish, that Lebanon not be forgotten. And to all of them, I expressed the full support and commitment of the Order of Malta to continue to work on the ground to assist their population. The Order of Malta, after all, has been operating continuously in Lebanon for decades, with hospitals, health centers, agricultural projects, and educational programs, providing health assistance to refugees, and promoting the social inclusion of disabled people. I visited several projects carried out by the Order of Malta, Lebanon. I was impressed by the commitment of the staff and by the quality of the services provided by the Order. I was particularly touched by a few significant moments, especially the meeting with disabled individuals at the center in Shabru and the visit in one of the Agro humanitarian program centers in Bekaa Valley. On that occasion, we met with representatives of 9 religious communities and confessions. All of them gathered together, prayed for goals and scope of the program. They prayed together, all of them, for the success of the Agro humanitarian programs and for the well-being of the farmers and the communities who will benefit from such activities. They also jointly blessed a new composting unit. It was a rare example of what interreligious dialogue means in practice, and also of what humanitarian diplomacy is, the kind that unites charity with strategic vision. Every new seed for better agricultural practices, every new composting unit, every medical center reopened, every doctor trained, every patient treated is a seed of peace planted in difficult but fertile soil. Lebanon needs to be healed, not only body, but also in soul. And to heal, after all, is the verb that links medicine to diplomacy. Both require listening, patience, and vision. This evening, you will have the opportunity not only to see the outstanding activities carried out by the Order of Malta in Lebanon, but also to take part in a high-level and thoughtful debate on the theme of preserving Lebanon's diversity in a panel composed of the most distinguished personalities. His Eminence Cardinal Gucciarotti, His Excellency Ambassador Tunkel, His Excellency's Ambassador El Khoury, and the President of the Lebanese Association of the Order of Malta, Marwar Senawi. I wish to thank all of them for accepting our invitation. Their presence honors us. The cooperation between the Order of Malta and the Federal Republic of Germany is a virtuous example of how solidarity can become foreign policy. It is an example of how aid to Lebanon can be, at the same time, an act of humanity and a long-term investment in the stability of the entire region. Only solidarity and international cooperation can help to rebuild trust, the economy, and the institution of a state so fragile and yet so fundamental to the stability of the Middle East. The Order of Malta will continue to stand by the Lebanese people in the fulfillment of its historical mission to assist all those in need and to promote peace and coexistence among communities of different origins and identities. Thank you very much.
I would like to introduce now the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to the Holy See and the Sovereign Order of Malta, His Excellency Bernhard Kotsch. Your Excellency, the stage is yours.
Your Eminence Cardinal Gucciarotti, Your Excellencies Grand Chancellor Paternò di Montecupo and Grand Hospitalier Blotz, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and appreciation that I welcome you all to this workshop. The relationship between the Sovereign Order of Malta and the Federal Republic of Germany is built on a shared commitment to upholding human dignity, alleviating suffering, and providing essential services to those who are in need. As we face an increasingly complex global landscape marked by conflicts, humanitarian crises, and natural disasters, the importance of this cooperation cannot be overestimated. Germany, with its strong commitment to multilateralism and humanitarian aid, has long been a reliable partner to the world in addressing these pressing issues. And for centuries, the Sovereign Order of Malta, with its global network of volunteers and professionals, has played a crucial role in extending care and compassion to those most in need. Especially in recent years, Malteser International has been a dedicated partner for my government in providing medical assistance, emergency relief, and social support to vulnerable populations, both within Europe and around the world. In addition to its international engagement, the Order of Malta is also involved in a wide range of social and humanitarian activities in Germany. The Malteser Hilfsdienst, one of Germany's largest charitable organizations with over 40,000 employees and 58,000 volunteers, provides emergency medical services, disaster relief, and social care programs for the elderly, disabled, and for marginalized communities. In 2017, the Federal Republic of Germany and the Order of Malta officially established diplomatic relations. Since then, our relations in the political sphere have intensified considerably. In this context, I would like to mention the visit of Federal President Steinmeier to the Order of Malta in October 2021. During this visit, the great potential for a further deepening of our cooperation was discussed. In the course of today's workshop, we will learn more about the concrete effects of this cooperation, taking the example of Lebanon. Lebanon is a country struggling to overcome a severe political, humanitarian, and security crisis. A country which also holds great significance for the Catholic Church and the Holy See, not only because of its deep biblical roots, but also because of its history as a model of religious coexistence. The Sovereign Order of Malta and Germany have a long-standing cooperation in the reconstruction and cooperation in Lebanon and in providing humanitarian assistance to the Lebanese people who face enormous challenges. The focus of today's workshop is therefore the exchange of ideas on how to support Lebanon's reconstruction process. And I'm delighted that Tobias Tunkel, Director Middle East and North Africa at the German Foreign Office, is with us today to present the German view. And I'm also very happy to see a number of representatives of the German Association of the Order of Malta and of Malteser International too. A warm welcome to all of you. To conclude, I would like to express my heartfelt and sincere gratitude to our generous hosts of the Sovereign Order of Malta for their hospitality and their trustful cooperation in organizing this event. Benvenuti a tutti. Grazie.
It is time now to move to the Sovereign Order of Malta's activities in Lebanon, particularly the role of the embassy in Lebanon. Therefore, I would like to give the stage to the Ambassador of the Order of Malta to Lebanon, Her Excellency Maria America Cortesi.
Your Eminence Cardinal Gugerotti, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to participate in this workshop on Lebanon, organized by the Sovereign Order of Malta in collaboration with the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to the Holy See, His Excellency Bernhard Kotsch. The fine speeches we have just heard clearly illustrate the importance of rebuilding Lebanon, respecting its diversity. The first element to be able to rebuild this nation that has been suffering for decades is to restore confidence to its people. The Order of Malta in Lebanon, with its activities, is certainly one of the actors that will be able to restore this confidence. In its 72 years of activity, the Embassy of the Order of Malta in Lebanon first carried out projects founding 8 of the current medical centers. And when, in 1984, the association was founded, it supported the project created by the association. This project, initially aimed at the healthcare sector, today constitute a wide range of services to respond to the growing needs. Currently, the Order of Malta Lebanon carries out a network of 60 different projects and programs in the sector of health, social, and agriculture to ensure individuals' welfare. In this valuable task, carried out with great skill by the association, the role of the embassy is fundamental. The diplomacy of the Order of Malta, which is a kind of mixture between traditional and humanitarian diplomacy, become crucial in Lebanon's complex situation, where crises often involved multiple actors and overlapping challenges. We operate at various levels, and this involves engagement with governments, state institutions, international organizations, religious and community leaders, and also NGOs. The maintenance of relations and dialogue with the diplomatic community accredited in the country and with the agencies of international organizations ensure the long-term effectiveness of humanitarian action. Our diplomacy is an essential tool for addressing the challenges faced by vulnerable populations and as a role in promoting human rights and dignity. It is also a potential tool to build back better, because when there is real engagement, there is also the opportunity to build trust. Our approach, built on neutrality, diplomatic engagement, respect of all religious groups, and trust, allow us to interact with Lebanon's unique complexity, social fragmentation, multiplicity of confessions, economic and banking crisis, the presence of a significant number of refugees from Syria and Palestine. Our constant and positive relationship with the government and state institutions has allowed the Association of the Order of Malta to sign several agreements with the Lebanese Republic to integrate medical programs into the national healthcare system and to have unlimited access to crisis zones. In addition, the continuous interaction with all the different confessions present in the country has created a real Lebanese model, a practical application of the famous Abu Dhabi document. All this would not be possible without the support of international partners, whom I would like to thank here. The German Foreign Office, the Auswärtiges Amt, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation, BMZ, the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the AFD, l'Agence France Développement, the Hungarian government, the Principality of Monaco, the Pierre Fabre Foundation, the Bettencourt Foundation, and many others. We ask them to support us further so that we can continue to help Lebanon. As St. John Paul II said, Lebanon is more than just a country. It is a message of freedom and an example of pluralism for the East and the West that we must keep alive. Thank you.
Former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri was killed in a massive blast in downtown.
Through decades of wars, crises, and uncertainty, one constant remains. For over 70 years, the Order of Malta Lebanon has been a lifeline, relieving suffering, restoring dignity, and empowering the most vulnerable without distinction of race, color, or religion. Amid instability, we stand firm, neutral, independent, and apolitical, serving only one cause: human dignity. With 60 programs nationwide, we carry out 1.5 million services every year. As a leading provider of primary health care, our 25 centers and mobile medical units stretch across Lebanon's most fragile landscapes, ensuring that no one is left behind. We cover 20% of all subsidized medical consultations nationwide, offering care where it is needed most. But healthcare is just one pillar of our mission. Through 19 social structures, we help marginalized individuals reclaim their independence, strengthen resilience, and rebuild their lives. Our agro-humanitarian program spans 70% of Lebanon's agricultural land and services, producing 80 million seedlings annually, supporting small farmers and SMEs, driving policy change, and reinforcing food security. Because we believe that true empowerment comes from creating sustainable opportunities. Yet our impact is more than numbers. Our strength lies within our communities. Rather than imposing solutions, we co-create them, working hand in hand with those we serve. Through strategic partnerships with faith institutions, the Lebanese Army, ministries, public and private sectors, and global organizations, we amplify our reach and drive lasting change. Faith guides us. Love, solidarity, coexistence, reform, and sustainability drive us. As St. John Paul II once said, Lebanon is more than a nation. It is a message of freedom and an example of pluralism to the East as well as the West. Through our mission, we ensure this message lives on, a message of lasting dignity, resilience, and peace.
Thank you for the Order of Malta for this video about the Lebanese Association activities. Let's discover more about the Order's activities in Lebanon with Ms. Umayma Farah, Director of Development and Communication of the Lebanese Association of the Knights of Malta, with Mr. Keith Zevenbergen, Director of Programs and Operations at Maltesers International, Mr. Elias Ghadban, Agriculture Advisor of the Lebanese Association of the Knights of Malta.
Eminence, Excellencies, distinguished guests, good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. Your presence is more than symbolic. It's a statement of solidarity. At the beginning of the film, you saw images of the Lebanon Civil War. In just 3 days, our nation will mark the 50th commemoration of its outbreak on April 13, 1975. This dark chapter fractured Lebanon's social fabric to this day, but it also taught us that peace cannot be taken for granted. It must be built, nurtured, and protected. Today, Lebanon faces one of the most severe socioeconomic crises in its history. Over 80% of population lives in poverty. Basic services have eroded. The public health system is on the brink of collapse. Over 2 million Syrian and Palestinian refugees remain in vulnerable conditions, placing additional strain on already fragile resources. The recent war has added a new layer of suffering. Thousands of families have been displaced, livelihoods have been destroyed, and vital services disrupted. Fear and uncertainty have once again gripped communities who have already endured so much. Yet Lebanon is more than its crisis. It's a land of resilience, beauty, and coexistence, a country where diversity is not a threat, but a strength, when nurtured with unity and trust. For 7 decades, the Lebanese Association of the Order of Malta has stood with the people of Lebanon, not as a substitute for the state, but as a partner, a bridge between communities, between need and dignity, between crisis and recovery. Apolitical, neutral, and impartial, the cross of the order heals in the churches and in the mosques. As you can see behind me, our network tells the story in action, from the extreme north to the southern borders, across Mount Lebanon, Beirut, and the Bekaa Valley. Our 60 projects and programs, including community health centers, mobile medical units, mobile community kitchens, elderly daycare centers, hosting centers for the disabled, agro-humanitarian centers, and social services, form a web of solidarity embedded deep within communities. Our deeply engaged staff of 600 professionals and hundreds of volunteers work hand in hand with local actors, municipalities, and faith groups, building trust where it matters the most. With 1.5 million services yearly, our reach touches over 200,000 people directly and more than 1 million indirectly. Each project is shaped by the specific need and in respect of the diversity of the communities we serve. Our core pillars go beyond basic assistance. In healthcare, we provide not only treatment, but prevention, education, and medical research. In agriculture, we strengthen livelihoods, reduce dependence on aid, and foster food security through local production. You will hear more in a bit by my confrère, Dr. Elias Radban. And in social care, we serve the elderly, persons with disabilities, women, and children, restoring livelihoods, ensuring dignity and inclusion for those too often left behind. What makes this work possible and credible is our unwavering commitment to our Christian values, combined with our professionalism, transparency, and accountability. All our activities adhere to international standards, regularly audited and built on systems of traceability and quality control. It is this rigor that creates trust with our partners, but also with the communities we serve. But our mission is not just about service. It's about building the foundations of peace through equity, opportunity, and shared purpose. As Pope Paul VI said, development is the new name of peace. Real peace cannot be built on temporary relief. It demands long-term investment in people. This is why our proximity with the communities we serve is so important. And this is also why we invest in Lebanon's youth, to help them build lives rooted in dignity at home, not abroad. While institutions falter, the spirit of the people endures, and that spirit is what has allowed Lebanon to stand time and time again. But standing is no longer enough. We must rebuild not just infrastructure, but trust. Not just services, but shared identity. Not just recovery, but lasting resilience. And this cannot be done alone. The support of partners such as the Federal Republic of Germany and the unwavering collaboration with Malteser International have been instrumental in scaling impact and building institutional strength. But more is needed. The challenges are immense, but so is the opportunity to transform humanitarian relief into development, division into dialogue, and fragility into peace. So tonight, we do more than share our mission. We extend an invitation to believe in Lebanon again, standing with us, not just in words, but in meaningful, sustained actions for our beloved Holy Land. because no matter how long the night, the promise of dawn is near. Thank you.
Thank you, Umaima. Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, also for me it is an honor to be with you, albeit on behalf of my boss, the Secretary General of Malteser International, Clemens Graaf Mirbacharf. He is, I'm sorry, he is not able to come today. My role here is to share with you some insights in the long-standing and I dare to say successful collaboration and strategic partnership between the Lebanese Order, the Lebanese Association, between the German federal government and Malteser International. Malteser International is the international relief agency of the Sovereign Order of Malta, active in more than 35 countries in all continents over the world, with over 1,000 staff and with hundreds of partner organizations nationally. We offer effective humanitarian responses worldwide, including in Lebanon. We do so with the generous donations of the associations of the Order of Malta worldwide. We do so with donations from the German public and of the federal government of Germany, amongst others. Wherever possible, we work through partner organizations to make use of their closeness and access to people in need. In turn, we bring our expertise on the table and our access to funding. Thanks to the Church and the Order, we have access to a uniquely wide and deep-rooted network of partners which allow us to go to places where others cannot go. Our partnership with the Lebanese Association has allowed the Lebanese Association to scale its impact significantly over the last years in a sustainable way. The level of trust enjoyed by the Lebanese Association across Lebanese society, including members of all religions, gives us a truly unparalleled access and level of credibility and acceptance in the country. In this impactful partnership, together we engage in joint project design and implementation tailored to the situation in Lebanon and geared towards the most pressing needs of the country's population. Over the years, this strong collaboration has enhanced effectiveness, efficiency, trust and reach, as just now sketched by Umaima. Over the past years, we, MI and the Lebanese Association have developed mutual learning opportunities as core components of our partnership. We exchange knowledge, we exchange methodologies, we exchange best practices from global contexts and adapt those to the Lebanese situation. It is exactly that combination of international expertise, which includes the knowledge and the experience to manage large donor contracts and to assure compliance with donor regulations, together with your local networks and knowledge and contacts, and the understanding of the cultural sensitivities that has assured effectiveness on the ground, particularly in those highly complex settings in Lebanon. It is critical, ladies and gentlemen, to note that this exemplary partnership between us could only come to full fruition through the enabling role of the federal government of Germany in reinforcing this partnership. It is that government funding from Germany and the strategic backing provided that provide the critical energy to fuel this partnership that has enabled not just immediate relief, but sustainable long-term humanitarian development. Thank you for that. At a time when aid budgets worldwide are under enormous pressure to prove their added value and contribution to the interest of donor countries too, this partnership is truly an example of humanitarian aid which is efficient, effective and sustainable. As Malteser International, we would love to continue this partnership. In-country needs are enormous, and it is a rare opportunity of having such a reliable partner able to deliver quality support to those that need it most. We would love to continue at scale on current activities and innovate there where possible. Innovate, for example, on digital health solutions. The settings are ideal for such innovations that then could later on be upscaled to other humanitarian settings. Again, it is an honor to be amongst you, Malteser International is committed to the Order's work in Lebanon. We are optimistic about the continued collaboration, and we believe that multi-actor partnerships are critical for Lebanon's path towards stability and renewed prosperity. And more so if these partnerships are backed by one of the most reliant donors in the entire world, which is the federal government of Germany. And that especially in these challenging times. Thank you very much. Elias.
Good evening. Can you just play the presentation? Okay. So I'm starting with a small introduction to frame the structure of the agriculture sector of Lebanon for those who do not know it. It's a small sector that contributes the least to national GDP. It's around 4%. However, it contributes to around 20 to 25% of employment and contribute to around 17% of total export. When we do focus on remote area, the contribution and the importance of the agriculture sector to the national economy, it's around 80% when we group all the activities that they are related to the agriculture sector, from transportation, agro-food processing, working the land, poultry, fishery, etc. However, this sector consumes in a country that is classified as semi-arid around 60% of water. And we all know the challenges of climate change and how we're trying to adapt to climate change. So it's, to a certain extent, when we try to expand in an agriculture sector through strategic crop, we look first at the consumption of water. In parallel, Lebanon benefits from around 300 sunny days that could be utilized in way or another to reduce the cost of energy in the sector, which account on average to around 30% of the cost of production. From social point of view or social protection point of view, farmers in Lebanon, they are not officially recognized as a business, and accordingly, they are not considered eligible to benefit from social security program or social security nets. With this, when we look at the natural resource richness of Lebanon, we have around 66.4% of land in Lebanon is classified as suitable for agriculture. However, around 25% of the total surface of Lebanon is cultivated. And we're a country that depends heavily on food import. Around 80% of our food consumption is imported. With the focus in post-war 1991 economy or political economy in Lebanon, the importance of the agriculture sector has dropped from the contribution to around 9% in 1970 to gross domestic product to around 3.1% in 2020. So we have good natural resources in terms of water. We have good soil, but sometimes we overutilize water. We have a good contribution of the sector to employment, and there is a big opportunity in food production because we're heavily dependent on import. With the 2019 crisis and with the depreciation of the Lebanese economy, and because we're mainly dependent on import, the cost of production highly increased. Even before the crisis, farmers in Lebanon had limited contribution to credit, which is a main factor that helped turning agriculture from food subsistence into a business. A recent study was published in 2021 after the crisis that amounts how much was spent in post-1991 civil war in the sector. The amount is around 15 billion. When we go into the ground and we try to account where the 15 billion have been invested in a small country where such amount of money would directly appear if it was properly designed and invested, that's how people started to relate the heavily support to the agriculture sector into fraud and corruption. That did not end in improving impact in the agriculture sector to farmer, but it ended in some pockets and some political affiliation. So the direct impact was deepened poverty and unemployment because the farmers who were able to plant around, for instance, 5 hectares, due to the lack of access to finance and the collapse of the banking sector, they were able to plant 2 hectares or 1 hectare. With this, the Order of Malta in Lebanon decided to intervene in the agriculture sector. And this is when President Marwan Sahnawi has asked me to start looking at the sector and how the organization would play a critical role in it. Let's read this quote. In the face of hardship, we hold steadfast to the hope that through unwavering faith, the soil will once again bear fruits and the hearts of our people will rise, united in resilience for a brighter tomorrow. This is a very nice quote, but how we transform it into reality and into practice. And here, when it comes how smarter you are to address the challenges and the needs of the people on the short term, and look into the future and how strategically you can intervene at the long term to address the challenges in a sector. This is how the strategy of the Order of Malta and its intervention in the agriculture sector was designed. It's a simple process. The point was, how can we better placed near the communities to address what they want, to partner with them, to understand their needs, and to act properly to address what is needed now, but see how we move together into the future in specific value chains that they are climate smart and nutrition sensitive to promote the nexus of food, health, and peace. So we came with the approach that we need to be present with the community through a fixed presence, permanent presence, through the establishment of agriculture service unit that offer services to farmers and enter as a key partner with them into the production cycle. So these are the overall objective: contribute to sustainable development of Lebanon agriculture sector. This is the long term. Enhance food security is the immediate objective, and build resilience to future shocks and challenges. The long-term objective as well, focusing on supporting agricultural recovery, enhancing food system resilience, strengthening supporting institutions, facilitating access to market, promoting research and innovation. This is to describe that the plan was to start through an agro-humanitarian intervention, but it looks into the long-term development objective. And this is how we designed it, that our intervention should be across the value chain. We start from the preparation of the land, we go with the farmer into reaching the market and adding the value of production. Each of the agriculture centers that they are now run directly by the Order of Malta offer knowledge, services through capacity building and interactive spaces that the communities come together to discuss their needs and the opportunities. It offers on the short term seedling production. That's how we establish the nurseries that they are operated by the Order of Malta and offering currently 80 million seedlings per year in specific value chains. And then we move into the processing unit. The processing units that they are designed to help individuals improve the value of their production and allow them to prepare a good product to be marketed by the private sector, and to directly influence and accelerate the adoption of these practices. The Order of Malta has designed cash and in-kind assistance. And as well, to support the community overall, social groups were designed. So whenever we go into an agriculture center run by the Order of Malta, we have demonstration plots, we have training rooms, we have access to seedlings, we have processing units, and as well, we have the communities overall engaged about how the centers are run and how they are strategically targeting specific value chains. These are some pictures. This is a picture in the nursery. This is a training to a beekeeper. This is also irrigation in the nursery. When we designed over the long term that we need to have or contribute to agriculture recovery and agriculture development, we strategically spread the center in a way to outreach the majority of agricultural land. So within a radius of 20 kilometers, currently the centers are able, through services, to reach around 70% of agricultural land in Lebanon. This is, this picture shows the cluster approach of how we designed the program, where if you are a farmer in the Bekaa and you're planting, for instance, in the north, you can access the services with the same quality and same prices. And when I say the services, they are mainly offered at break-even cost to the farmers in order to decrease the cost of production. So the overall capital has been invested by the Order of Malta to serve the community, and currently the partners who are the farmers and the community group and the cooperative are funding the services, and this is how, after the end of the project and after the end of the funding, the services of the Order of Malta will continue to be offered, and indirectly the farmers will be funding access to their services. This is the center in Ain Ibel, which is extend on a service of 30,000 square meter, and it was in partnership with the Jesuit community. All the centers were built into a community land that was offered for free or granted for free to the Order of Malta for 20 years to establish the center and offer these services. This is another center where you see the nurseries, you see the offices, the training room, and you see in all these centers that they are operated by solar energy in order also to decrease the cost of production. This is the center in the south, in Farfalous area. This is in Khirbet Anafar, the same design, the same model. This is in Kubayat, and this is in Mijdlaya. Okay? What have been invested now so far in the agriculture program is around $8 million. If we assess the value of the services and the value of the land, it's more than $40 million. And it will continue to provide the services to farmers. What we have done so far, call it from business point of view, it's a proof of concept. We proved under a crisis that we can design programs to address immediate needs and seed the future in these centers by seeing the long-term objective with the farmers. We invested by training our human resources, and we're ready to scale up. And the scale up in parallel is offered by 18 hectares of land in which the agriculture centers are being operated so far. So the 8 million that has been invested in these agriculture center is ready through a strategic approach to absorb in the coming 3 years around 40 million investment in order at the end to present a pilot of how can we, through humanitarian and development intervention, present an alternative scenario to the Lebanese community on a small country like Lebanon, and prove that change is possible on the short term if we properly invest and design, and if we properly stand with the community next to them with credible organizations like the Order of Malta in Lebanon. So currently we are, we developed the strategy and we selected value chain where we want to intervene, and we started to see that farmers are changing towards these crops and ready to scale up and embark. This allows the private sector to be ready to intervene and pull these value chains in order to have a sustainable impact. Thank you.
While the stage is being rearranged, I would like to remind that the panel is entitled The Lebanese Intercommunal Model. Our panelists are His Eminence Cardinal Claudio Gugerotti, His Excellency Ambassador Tobias Tunkel, His Excellency Ambassador Ghadi Al-Khouri, and His Excellency Marwan Sahnawi. Please, Your Excellencies, if you would like to take place on the stage. Let me introduce to you first our panelists. His Eminence Cardinal Claudio Gugerotti is the prefect of the dicastery for the Oriental Churches. He is also a member of other Vatican dicasteries, such as those for promoting Christian unity and interreligious dialogue. He holds a doctorate in Oriental Ecclesiastical Sciences from the Pontifical Oriental Institute, and has previously served as Apostolic Nuncio in countries of Eastern Christian tradition. You're welcome, Your Eminence. His Excellency Ambassador Tobias Tunkel is a director for the Near and Middle East and North Africa at the German Federal Foreign Office. Over the last 2 decades in his diplomatic work, he has served in the German embassies in Yemen and Moscow. He was also a political advisor for the EU Special Envoy for the Middle East in Brussels, and was head of division for Russia, Belarus, and Eastern Partnership at the German Federal Foreign Office. You're welcome, Your Excellency. His Excellency Ghadi Al-Khouri is the Chargé d'Affaires of the Lebanese Embassy to the Holy See and the Sovereign Order of Malta. Throughout his 30-year career as a diplomat, he has gained extensive experience in international affairs, serving in China, Washington, D.C., and Paris. He was the Director of Political and Consular Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Lebanon, responsible for planning and preparing Lebanese foreign policy. You're welcome, Your Excellency. His Excellency Marwan Sahnawi has been the President of the Lebanese Association of the Knights of Malta for the past 20 years. He is a former board member of the Franco-Lebanese Cultural Association, and is currently the chairman of the boards of Merix and Lebanese Utilities Company Holding. He is also an administrator of Michel Sahnawi and Fils Company. You're welcome. We could welcome them with a round of applause. I will start by asking our panelists their thoughts about a common question about why is it important to rebuild Lebanon, and why should Lebanon remain an intercommunal model, Then I will ask them another question for each panelist, and we will start then taking your questions, the questions of the audience here tonight. So you could start by preparing your questions, and you could then raise your hands, and a microphone will be brought to you. So the first question, which is a common question, I will start with Cardinal Goggerotti. Your Eminence, why is it important to rebuild Lebanon, and why should it remain an intercommunal model?
It's quite a difficult question. The first answer, which is not to be taken for granted, is the fact that we have something to rebuild. The fact of having something to rebuild means that there is something alive. In a territory, in an area where it's very difficult to imagine a future, Lebanon among them is certainly one of the most promising areas, exactly because of its nature. Because it is not only a local, small reality, but it is a symbol. And a symbol that so far has not been repeated. So it is important to have a symbol of something that is possible to live. If we lose that symbol, we lose also the possibility of intervention, even more the possibility of reconstruction. The second point is that the important reality, which is clearly expressed in Lebanon's essence, is exactly what you have mentioned, an experience of intercommunion. In a world where competition has become practically the only political law, competition and intercommunion on very many levels are incompatible. We have to choose. If we choose just to take the law of the market, then certainly division is the model. Everybody will try to be the most important portion and consequentially the richest portion. If we think that intercommunion is relevant, then the well-being of my neighbor is as important as mine. So it's not only a problem of a social or a political model, a pattern, but it is a philosophy of life. This is my opinion.
Thank you. Now I will ask Ambassador Tunkel the same question. Why is it important to rebuild Lebanon, and why should it remain an intercommunal model?
Well, thank you very much for this question, which I have probably less difficulties to answer because I can perfectly relate and refer to what His Eminence Cardinal Goggerotti just said, and to what President Aoun said in the video message that he sent to us. I think Lebanon, in its multi-ethnicity, in its multi-religious, multi-confessional character, is an integral part of the fabric of the Middle East and is a living proof that the Middle East is a place where religions, confessions, ethnicities, communities can live together peacefully and prosperously. Having said that, I think we must keep in mind that Lebanon is a unique place, but it is not situated in paradise. It is situated in a very, very tough neighborhood. And its character, as we've seen over the last couple of years at several occasions, has to be defended actively against interference of outside powers, external stakeholders that more than once turned Lebanon into a battleground of its own interests rather than the interests of the Lebanese people. But we have also seen that Lebanon had difficulties to prove that it is actually a functioning state. State institutions in Lebanon are very, very weak. We have been reminded today on the various crises that Lebanon is going through: humanitarian crisis, financial crisis, economic crisis. And this is also, I must say, due to the fact that maybe sometimes the Lebanese elites have not fully lived up to the expectations of their people. And that state institutions have been weakened by secretarism, by selfishness of particular groups, and I think this needs to be overcome in order to defend Lebanon as exactly the model that we would like it to be, a model of peaceful and prosperous living together of many religions and confessions.
Thank you. Ambassador Khouri, I will ask you the same question. Why is it important to rebuild Lebanon, and why should it remain an intercommunal model?
Thank you. To begin, I think part of the question has been answered a little bit by a little bit everyone, mostly Ms. Umayma Farah, because she laid out some of the challenges Lebanon faces. I think your question is very interesting in a sense, because your second question partially answers your first question. I mean, challenges facing Lebanon are numerous and enormous. I mean, just to name a few, Lebanon is a country where currently 2 out of 5 persons are refugees. It has witnessed since 2019 the worst economic crisis of its history, and nothing substantial has been made to address it. It has an endemic lack of accountability, as witnessed by the Beirut port explosion, the biggest explosion Lebanon has ever, I think one of the biggest the world has ever seen since World War II. Not later than recently, it has witnessed an Israeli war and destructions beyond anything we can ever imagine. This is just to list a few. But still, the answer is simple. Why should we help Lebanon? I mean, we always quote late Pope John Paul II. I mean, already twice it has been quoted. I'm going to be the third one saying it, that Lebanon is not a country, it's a message. And we hear it in almost every speech and declaration about Lebanon. And it has become, in a sense, a cliche. But it is not a cliche. It is basically really the reality of Lebanon. It is probably the only country where Christians, Muslims, Sunni, and Shiites have an equalitarian participation in the system. So to put it in another way, Lebanon is not the only country in the world where you have tolerance, how do you say, democracy, or civil rights. We are not better than any other places. And but in Lebanon, no single group feels stronger or more entitled to the system than another, and no one group feels marginalized, because in general, we see the world, we have probably countries where a majority, let's say, are Europe, a majority of citizens, the majority of the citizens of Europe are Christian, with a minority of Muslims that all enjoy the same rights, the same equality towards the law, but in some sense, the minority feels always a minority. This is also the case of Christians in the Arab world, maybe, and sometimes in Asia, where even though they might enjoy the same rights, they feel as a minority. Only in Lebanon do they feel really equal. And this is the uniqueness, in a sense, of Lebanon. It's an experiment that has to succeed. And sorry, that's it for me. I mean, I will not dwell.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency Sahnawi, now the question is for you. Why is it important to rebuild Lebanon, and why should it remain an intercommunal model?
Well, thank you for this panel, and thank you to those
Your
who organized
Excellency.
it, and the Federal, yes, of Germany. I'm a Lebanese citizen.
Yeah.
My expression will be very simple. First, Lebanon have not the right to die, because it's a gift of God. The Holy Land is a gift of God. What's left about the Holy Land and what's left about the people of God? Lebanon offers the opportunity to tell God, we will not dismiss from your gift, but we will fight even if people would believe it's illusions for the survival of the gift you gave. Number two, the world today is a world where humanity has disappeared. Only power, only finances predominate. We have the chance in this little country to say that the notion of love is not a romantic notion. It is the only constructive notion for a better world. For those two reasons, by a sense, Lebanon is a laboratory. Why shouldn't try to make this laboratory work? Thank you.
Thank you. I would like now to ask Cardinal Gugerotti. Lebanese people have always had high expectations on the Vatican's role in preserving diversity in their country. From your perspective, how could the Holy See, and especially the Dicastery for Eastern Churches, assist in preserving and promoting diversity in Lebanon?
It is quite a hard task, I would say. The communities, as they are pretty consequential in their own self-perception. If I say a Maronite, everybody understands what it means. If I say a Melkite, everybody understands, and so on and so forth. And I think the same is for the Muslims. The problem is, first, and this is not up to us, first of all, but it's a condition, it's a precondition, is to impede people from outside to destroy this sense of self-identification. Because Lebanon as such can sometimes be self-destructive, but not to such an extent as to cancel the perception of identity of the groups that create Lebanon as such. So we have to support the churches, in our case, churches that are very ancient, both the Catholic ones and the non-Catholic ones, and that are strongly tempted to leave the country. Why? Because generally, they are well educated, they are relatives abroad, and so this possibility is a strong temptation for those who look around themselves at other countries and see what their condition is. I was recently in Syria with Archbishop Shalach. Well, the vast majority, however, I was there because Pope Francis wanted me to convince them that we are with them. The main thing they wanted were visas. And we have already passed from 10 to 1% of Christians. So, God forbids that a new internal series of wars and revolutions take place. Difficult to imagine for the Christians, because if it happens, they will be the first victims. Everybody has somebody politically behind. The Christians don't. Lebanon, as it was said, is a place where the Christians are at home. And they have not to ask for the possibility of existing, however, with a certain, let us say, decreased kind of rights. They are not the dhimma as they are perceived in other, practically in all countries where the Muslim legislation is implemented. So you see, our work is to try to convince them that for the church, To lose the Catholics or the Christians in Lebanon means to lose a part of the church that cannot be reproduced, which means a part of the identity of the Catholic Church. So it's not a problem of a tiny minority that will disappear among the others. You see, they are part of the very roots of Christianity that gave a soul to those countries before the Muslims arrived. Mm-hmm. So they are citizens from all points of view. And what the Christians meant for this country is not only in the religious area. Just remember what the Ba'ath Party is, by whom it was created, and how, unfortunately, and in what conditions it is. Yes. So, my impression is that our work is mainly a work of psychological and very practical support of everybody in Lebanon to show that it is worthy to stay in Lebanon, to be, that it is worthy to be part of their own community, and to convince the communities to make them feel at home at all levels, not only at the level of oligarchs, but also at the level of every single person. When I saw this presentation about agriculture, it is very clearly aimed not at the aristocracy. Well, that is an instrument that allows people to perceive that they have a right and a duty to accomplish in their own country.
Your Eminence, is there a strong religious reason why Christians should stay in Lebanon, or is it more for political reasons, so they won't become more and more a minority and eventually totally disappear? Do you think it could be that there is a religious reason for them as Christians to stay in this area of the world?
Oh, definitely, yes. Certainly Christians have fewer children than others. And this is a basic problem, because number is number. And when the famous message Lebanon was invented or created, the percentage was highly different. Yes. We try to hide it, but the difference is very strong. So the first thing we should do is to make them feel that it is possible to have a normal family, to have good schools, to have a future in the country, and to have a Christian community that is not only folklore, but is the very soul of a reason for living. His Excellency was saying it with very clear words, very clear religious reasons. And I would just like to repeat what he said, but I don't do it because we don't have time. The main thing is to create a home where at the center is the presence of a loving God. If we do that, the consequences will come immediately. But we have to convince everybody in that, starting from those who are, let us say, entrusted with the task of being religious leaders. This is the same for the Jews, for the Muslims, of any kind. And that the future is not by finding possibilities of alliance with outside powers in order to make themselves rich in spite of their own people. Mm-hmm. But the idea of being responsible for those who are the little ones. Yes. So this is the reason why I can insist on some subjects, and certainly most in the churches agree with this vision. But still, we have not to forget that between the Middle East and Europe or the United States, there is a decalage of about 200 years. in mentality, in culture, and this is not their fault. And it is not our advantage, because it is not to be believed that the fact of having a difference of 200 years is not self-destructive. I can be 200 years more modern in order to find more effective weapons to kill myself.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Ambassador Tunkel, his Eminence talked about self-destruction. So I wanted to ask you, based on your experience as a diplomat, what do you believe can and should be done at a regional level in the Middle East to help maintain Lebanon as an intercommunal model? Because it seems sometimes that Lebanon is a perfect recipe for self-destruction. So what should the international community do for Lebanon?
I'm not sure I would go as far as to call Lebanon a perfect example of self-destruction, but there is a certain tendency to sometimes adhere to or adopt self-defeating behavior. But let's go back for a second and just remind ourselves on the broader context. I think from what the Cardinal said, it became very clear that in a way Christians are, as was said, the canaries in a coal mine. So if the oxygen reduces, they are the first ones to feel it, and well, in the coal mine they die. In our case, they leave the country. And we also know that these trends and these developments take place in an accelerated way in times of political transition and under external pressure. And those of us who often go to the cinema in the Middle East know that the films in the cinema hardly have a happy ending for the Christians. Remember Iraq. And now maybe we might be faced with such a situation in Syria. I think against this backdrop, it is all the more important to push back and to show that the Lebanese model, as unique and as unlikely it is, can work. Unfortunately, the Lebanese model is not considered a role model in the region. If you go, and the Cardinal was there and I was there as well now, if you go to Syria and ask them what kind of country do you want to be, they said anything but Lebanon. I'm sorry to break this, if this is news to you, I'm sure it is not to you. I'm sorry. Well, they consider it that it's not, I mean, it wouldn't work for Syria. I mean, I think we all agree that every country has to find its own model, and you cannot just use the Lebanese model and apply it to Syria. But what is behind that is the idea, is the experience that an electoral system that is based on proportional representation or confessional representation didn't really work. And I would say this is not because the system is bad, it is because under very heavy circumstances, it didn't produce the results in Lebanon that it was supposed to produce. Protection of minorities, protection of the interests of the Christian and other communities is one thing, and that is very strong in Lebanon. But what does it help if the state then doesn't deliver to the basic needs of the people? If it can't take care of the humanitarian suffering of the situation, and that is what we have observed in Lebanon. And again, it is not the fault of the Lebanese. It's not the fault of the country. There is so much external influence, external interference. And I think one of the most prominent and important tasks that the international community, countries like Germany, like the European Union have, is that it shields Lebanon against this destructive external influence, and that it helps the state institutions in Lebanon to function again. And I think we have a golden opportunity now We have a new president who is very committed. We have a new government which is committed to reforms. We have, luckily, a ceasefire which more or less holds, sometimes more, sometimes less. And we have also, let me be frank and say that, a situation where Hezbollah is weakened, and that is an opportunity. For too long, and it was, state capture what Hezbollah did. It was the state within the state, and it corrupted the whole system. And we have to push back against that. We stand ready to help Lebanon to do that and to become what it can certainly be, a functioning, delivering state.
You mentioned Hezbollah, Ambassador. Should the actual Lebanese government take into consideration disarming Hezbollah as part of rebuilding Lebanon from your perspective?
Well, I mean, Hezbollah, I think it doesn't need to be explained, has never pursued a Lebanese agenda. It has pursued an Iranian agenda, and it has made Lebanon something it never wanted to be, a source of threat for its neighbors. And Lebanon had to pay a very, very high price for it. Hezbollah was the reason, His Excellency mentioned it, the lack of accountability after the horrible Beirut blast. It was Hezbollah's fault that never there was criminal prosecution for those who bear responsibility. So I think there is a certain chance now, and we should use it.
Thank you. Ambassador Khouri, as a Lebanese who has witnessed multiple wars and crises in your country, you have also for sure observed several reconstruction plans implemented by past Lebanese governments. From your perspective, is there a lesson learned that the current Lebanese government should consider today while attempting to rebuild the country after the last war? And what would it be, this lesson?
I think one of the attributes of Lebanon is its openness to the external world, and with this comes basically a lot of assistance, a lot of advice, and from this, my next point being is that we have not been short on friendly advice in general. That's one thing. The second thing is basically, I think, competence. There's always competent people. I think the main problem is not basically the financial corruption in as much as the political corruption of the system. It was more critical, and in the sense, in all of the field that has areas that have to be rebuilt, I think studies have been done, projects have been planned. We are not short of planning. I mean, just to give you an example, when the Prime Minister was appointed, I went and saw him. And one of the main things I told him, basically, I told him, your government has 13 or 14 months time span. You don't have time to restart all over again. I think every project has been studied, every field, there is something that has to be done. Some of them might need fine-tuning. Some of them might need tuning. But I think everything is done. The question is how to implement them. And I mean, I don't like to talk about internal politics, but I think one of the main hurdles and one of the reasons the system was blocking is on its way to disappear, to vanish, which will probably make it easier for decision-making to happen in a smoother and more efficient way. So I am optimistic, not only because of the people who are there. The people who are there are exceptional, but we've always had some good people. But I am optimistic because basically veto power of some players have decreased, and the Iranian influence, in a sense, because it was more of a Iranian, sometimes it was Syrian, it was more of a blockage role than a constructive role. It has weakened to the point that it will allow it would allow us to move forward and move in an efficient manner, in a more efficient manner.
Thank you. Your Excellency Sahnawi, you talked in your first answer about the importance of Lebanon and that Lebanon doesn't have the right to die. So how does the Lebanese Association of the Knights of Malta today helps in that, in maintaining Lebanon alive. We already saw a lot in the presentation, but I would like to know your point of view, and how does it promote the intercommunal model in Lebanon?
We are lucky to have met the Cross of the Order. The Cross of the Order is a practical cross that works on the ground to be able to deliver to the Lebanese people sick from 55 years of war, to try to remember them that they're Lebanese people. They're not Christian people. They're not Shia people. They're not Sunni people. They're not Syrian Lebanese. They're not Iranian Lebanese or Saudi Lebanese. They're Lebanese people. And our work consists to try to have all over Lebanon the veil of a nurse mixing with the cross of the order, to get back to the civical point where rebuilding Lebanon will not be anymore a dream. You cannot realize that if you believe in ghettos. You cannot realize that if you talk. You have to bring back their dignity to the Lebanese people. That dignity is based on what? Being fed, being cured, being schooled. You have to create hope. How do you create hope? It's in giving practically, in showing with courage. Because I have learned, and this fantastic team of the Order in Lebanon have learned, that faith is courage. Faith is risks. You can't feel comfortable. The moment you feel comfortable, it means you have already failed. We have to fight for a better future. I can give you 2 examples.
Yes.
One day we were asked to put up a mobile medical unit in the most dangerous area, which is in the north of Lebanon in Wadi Khalid. Sunni area, very dangerous area. So they told us, do not go there. It's dangerous. So we said, if we only go where we have a good tea and a good whiskey, it's not our interest. We will go. But we said we will question a very important Sunni humanitarian organization to say, come along. They said, you're crazy. We will never go. So we decided to go. But we said, let's not do any kind of provocation. We went with our medical mobile unit without the cross, white. And we began our work. After 3 months, all the religious responsible, the shuyukh, they came to us and they said, why don't you put your cross? This is a cross where we feel good to talk together. We did put the cross. They opened the mosques and they said, please come and heal in our mosques. Isn't that a sign to believe that Lebanon could be rebuilt? Give back hope that the population will reach its dignity. That needs transparency. That needs love. That needs action on the ground. Humility. And when a country is destroyed, as it is, mediocrity doesn't pay. You have to get the best. So what we need is not people from the outside to build the Lebanese person. we have to build it in the name of our faith. What we need is to be able to extend the surface of the people we can reach. This is why we need help to do more projects, because at a point when the Lebanese population will realize that they can be in dignity in their own country because of organizations that wants nothing for them. When you want to serve, you have to forget yourself. You're nobody the second you believe that you're somebody. This is why I trust that with the cross of the order, we will not save the country, but will be part of the solution. And this is why the President of the Republic, who has tasted all this, he knows that all religions open their doors to the cross of the order.
Yes.
Not to me, to the cross.
We still now have less than 10 minutes, so I would like to see if someone from the audience would like to ask a question. Please raise your hand. Yes, please, and a microphone will be brought to you. Please, ma'am, if you could say your name and what do you work on?
Yes. My name is Maria Laura Conte. I'm Communication and Advocacy Director for AFSI Foundation. AFSI Foundation is present, has been present in Lebanon since 1996, and we, for development project, emergency project, and we strongly believe that we need cooperation to development. Need cooperation to development today more than ever, but we see also that a new wind is coming from West, suggesting that actually development cooperation is no longer necessary and the funds dedicated to it are no longer useful. We all are testimony of this tragic cut of aid funds. And so the topic and the question I would like to share with above all Cardinal Gugerotti is about how we can fight this new narrative coming from the West, suggesting that we have to change cooperation to go to competition, how we can defend the idea and the cultural value of development cooperation. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Well, values. The answer is values. If you have inside the reason for life which goes beyond death, you perceive that a model of humanity can be according. Can it be just the perception that we have to fill your pockets even if in 20 years you will not be alive? You need values, which means family, work, intelligence, culture, love, as His Excellency repeated frequently. If you don't have that inside, there is no future for humanity whatsoever. It's not a problem of Lebanon. We are on the verge of losing the reason. This morning I was in a Jewish cemetery for a funeral. At the same time, in another Jewish cemetery in Rome, they were burying this young man, 13 years old, who found the kind of weapon in his house and killed himself. 13 years old. I mean, in a normal society, a child, when he is 13, is fighting for his dreams. He still believes in in fables, you know, in legends, in watching at incredible toys just to have imagination work, not looking for a pistol. But this is what we are losing. I'm not speaking just in defense of religion, which for me, of course, is the answer, because it is my answer. But if we believe, as Christians do, that you, each of you, is precious in the eyes of God, who created you differently from all the others, and you are unique, and the story of love will be everlasting, then you become a hero, that you have no boundaries, that you, as he said, even if it is dangerous, you go. And it is not that you have to convince yourself to do that. It comes spontaneously. If we don't do that, and we think that the most important part of our body is our pockets, then everything will be used accordingly, including our neighbors. We shall squeeze the neighbors in order to get whatever they can give to us. So it's a crucial point. The choice of the meaning of life. Why do the Eastern people, whatever, or the Southern people, look at us with great disagreement and frustration? Because they have the impression that we have rejected our own culture and civilization and put nothing in that place. So you see, for me as a Christian, this is the answer. But I realize, speaking with other people of other religions, even with atheists, that they find that the problem is the same. So the analysis of this situation can be shared. The vast majority who thinks the opposite is thinking about to get a goal without rethinking the goal, or even without having a goal. That is my answer.
Thank you, Your Eminence. I think we have time for one last question.
Good evening. My name is Mario Masciullo. I am a member of the Foreign Press Association Italy and a correspondent for an American daily international plus a Canadian magazine. Congratulations for this initiative directed to Lebanon. I'm asking if there are plans for the future help of Gaza to rebuild after this endless massacre. Thank you.
Is your question to someone of the panel, or is it for anyone who would like to answer? Sir. Yes, no. Maybe if, I don't know, if someone would like to answer about Gaza, Ambassador Tunker or Ambassador Puri.
I can venture into an answer, basically, to go back to what His Eminence just said. Basically, of course, if we stick to our values, we stick to values and to morals, we are bound, all of us, irrespective of our own problems, to help the weaker. The weak has to help the weaker, and the weaker has to help the weakest. So obviously, helping Gaza should be something of an importance to all of us. It's something common, I think, to every human being. Nobody can see this amount of suffering and this amount of death and turn a blind eye. So that's, I mean, it's bound. I mean, it's evident that this is how it should be. I mean, unless someone would like to ask.
Okay. One more question. Okay, sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. The Palestinian ambassador to the Sovereign Order of Malta. Thank you, for all your interventions. As we talk about Lebanon, we talk about the Middle East, and as our lady said, this is part of the Holy Land. I would ask here, His Eminence the Cardinal, he visited Lebanon, he visited Syria, and definitely we are waiting for him to visit Jerusalem, the Holy City. Especially, next week, we're having the Holy Week and the resurrection of our Lord. But, it touched my heart, to hear someone talking about Gaza. And it touched my heart here, to hear, His Excellency Mr. Marwan talking about the cross of the Order of Malta, how it opened the door. And I would appeal, and I would like to echo also all the UN organizations which they came out with a statement yesterday to lift the embargo or the blockade on Gaza, as for the last more than 1 month, no food, no electricity, no water, more than 1,000 children are killed, and everyone is watching. But anyhow, and of course, our Holy Father is sick, and we don't hear anymore in the whole world, the voice of justice and the voice of peace. But, as we talk about Lebanon and the Christians of the Middle East, Your Eminence, I live in Jerusalem, and, it's my roots there. We're becoming few thousands as Christians. The living stones in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Palestine, even inside Israel, we're disappearing. Jean Paul said, we cannot talk about Christianity without the Christians of the Middle East. Is there any practical steps by the Holy See, by the Order of Malta, by all those who have conscience to safeguard the very presence of the Christianity, especially in the Holy Land? Keep in mind that I hear many times, families of mine and others, that many European countries are opening their doors for the Christian families because of the difficult situation we're passing through to have a visa of immigration. And by this, thus, there are certain Western countries, they're helping for the immigration of the Christians of the Middle East. Can we do something about it and face such challenges to maintain and to preserve the very Christianity in the Holy Land? Thank you.
If I may?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we are working a lot. We are working a lot, particularly in the Holy Land. Think of the University of Bethlehem. It's a huge enterprise. It costs a lot, but we want to invest because culture is very important for a person to understand what his or her future is. And there are very many examples. We visited even in Beirut, that incredible institution of the sisters, of the nuns, taking care of the people that the society puts aside, absolutely without any attention. And they work there silently, faithfully, because of their faith. But the big problem is that we can do what we can with people who are still there. But we cannot deny that an enormous number has already left, as you said. So now we are working as a congregation with His Excellency. We are working in trying to preserve the roots of the first generation of emigrants, so that the bishops of the churches, of the places where they go as emigrants, can work to make them preserve their own identity, however far they are from their own land. I understand that the percentage of people you can keep faithful to their roots is not high, because what we can do is little, and what the Oriental churches can do is even less. So now we have to try to convince the Roman Catholic bishops to say it is your job to take care of these people, not by assimilating them, but by helping them to remain what they are, keeping their links and hoping that, as sometimes happened already, we had a person yesterday that lived in the United States for 15 years, I think, and he came back to Beirut to serve his church. So some of these people will come, but we have to take care of the others, because the idea is that they are a national minority and they have to be treated as all national minority, which means assimilation in not more than 3 generations. What we are fighting against is this kind of mentality. Instead of understanding that the more different they are, the more they help myself, who am a Roman Catholic, they tend to say, well, it's much easier because they don't have priests, they don't have their own catechism, they don't have their books, they don't have their songs, just to be assimilated. Now we are fighting in that direction, and at the same time working hard to try, for example, with the ROACO, which is this kind of association that puts together many very important humanitarian organizations, to work for those who are still there. But, Mr. Ambassador, what we need is politics, and we are not people of politics. You were quoting the sanctions. We have even forgotten why we are putting sanctions on them. If the main goal was Assad, now Assad is no longer there, but the sanctions are there. And the banks don't exist. If I want to transfer money, I have to go to Lebanon with all the situation of the banking system in Lebanon. So, I mean, what we need is intelligent politicians that understand what their job is, which is the good of the people and the good of the peoples. Because if we don't save them, nobody will save us, because our future is not granted. Now we speak about rearming. Let us do that. Okay, it will take 10 years. And if something happens in the meantime, what shall we do? Ask for Hezbollah to come and defend us? This is a problem of logics. This is a problem of intelligence. And unfortunately, we are strongly lacking intelligence. And intelligence coming from faith is stronger because it is in communion with the intelligence of God. But let us put it apart if the majority does not accept a religion. But at least let us use our own intelligence for our own goal. Do you see a project in the future of our countries? Whenever there is a competition in the country and they tend to destroy each other. So I am afraid for the general, environment, let us say, for the scheme of humanity. This is not only a problem of some more or less intelligent politicians. This is a way of thinking. And we want to preserve the Christians there. But when I went to each cathedral in Syria, and people were weeping, and young people were no longer there, when a university professor gets $20 every month, and that's not been paid for 4 months, what is the future I can offer? Another future of martyrdom. But with white gloves. So maybe they will not be killed. Maybe, because it is not to be taken for granted. They will die of starvation. So we need, the church needs intelligent people that think that humanity is one family.
Thank you, Your Eminence. I now turn the closing remarks over to the Grand Hospitalier Joseph Blotz, and I would like to thank our panelists, His Eminence Cardinal Claudio Goggerotti, His Excellency Ambassador Tobias Tunker, His Excellency Ambassador Ghadi Khouri, and His Excellency Marwan Sahnawi. Thank you for being with us.
Your Eminence, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends and supporters of the Order of Malta to and in Lebanon. At the end of this most inspiring meeting, I'm not daring to summarize the full content of what has been presented and discussed. Instead, please allow me to start on a personal note. A few years ago, I went to Shabrouk in Lebanon for a one-week Order of Malta Knights and Dames camp. This camp has been existing for more than 25 years, founded by the Association of Young Members of the Order of Malta in Germany. We, years ago, as a group of about 20 members of the Order from Germany, we took care of mentally and physically handicapped young Lebanese patients, our guests, as we call them. At the end of this week, we were presented with a wristlet, a wristband, as a way of appreciation and gratitude, as a souvenir, if you wish. And this wrist bit resembles a rosary, including a little cross. And here it is. Today, thousands of volunteers from around the world are wearing this wristlet day and night because you cannot take it off anymore. They wear it day and night as if they were members of an order, members of the Order of Shabrouk. And this wristlet stands for me and perhaps for you for an enormously moving and enriching week with poor and sick guests. It stands for a community in the spirit of the Order's charism, particularly in Lebanon. I always admired the huge Lebanese Association's broad activities. This wristlet stands for a sense of the historic and spiritual dimensions of what the Order of Malta represents, founded not too far away from Lebanon. And finally, it stands for the need to bring peace, stability, and support to Lebanon and the Lebanese Knights and Dames as a prerequisite for an even stronger humanitarian commitment, which is the Grand Hospitalier's key mission. Peace is certainly a key factor of human dignity, as we have heard, not only in Lebanon, where a third of the population is Christian. We need peace also in Gaza, in Ukraine, and in many other places. You may say there are better times, there have been better times. Yes, perhaps, but these are our times. And we must come to grips with these, with our times, against all odds. And as peace contributes to humanity and dignity, the work of the Order of Malta may in turn contribute to peace and stability, at least on a small scale, for example in Shabrouk, in Kaldiyeh, Yetzine, and all the other places where we are active, and where we must continue to be active, continue to empower communities where we can drive change from within. And therefore, today's initiative to focus on Lebanon and the Order's enormous activities there is most welcome. In this sense, let us, on the basis of what has been achieved to date in Lebanon, proceed with determination and passion together with people from all the 18 different denominations in Lebanon. Let us proceed as actors of peace and charity. I'm tempted to say whatever it takes from me as the Grand Hospitaller, but certainly the Order of Malta wants to be part of the solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There will be refreshments now if you would like to join. I don't know.